yourself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on that.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters, the start of a new week and one which you were hoping would be full of optimism and smiles and laughter after we'd watched the other teams falter and then see Newcastle comprehensively beat West Brom at the weekend. Yeah, we've all been Newcastle fans too long to know that was never going to be the case. Welcome to Chris, welcome to Pete. It's the 5-minute rant, your opportunity to get your views across. Tell us what you thought about yesterday's game. Tell us what you think about Steve Bruce barging into Newcastle United players. Tell us what you think about Steve Bruce's press conferences and lack of PR skills after 20 years in the job. Plenty to talk about as always, guys, and it's over to you. The link is in the description box below. If you want to come on, vent your spleen for 5 minutes and interact with me and the guys on screen for the next hour, then it's over to you. If you don't want to do that, me, Pete and Chris will dissect it and talk about it until the cows come home. So Chris, you're next to me. You were first in the green room. In the green room, you were saying you felt a bit more optimistic. So give us your views on yesterday, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who saw me on the live stream yesterday, would know that I was absolutely devastated after it. And, I do feel it was an opportunity missed, as I'm sure many others do. I felt we used the wrong lineup. I felt we weren't ambitious enough. I felt like we didn't go out to win the game. It was just about not losing, which I understand to a degree, but when you're coming up against, the 19th placed team in the league, you've got to show more ambition. You've got to look to win that match, especially with the other fixtures we've got coming up. But as I said in the green room with you earlier, Steve, I'm feeling more positive today. It's another point on the board. Okay, I don't think anybody saw Fulham turning Liverpool over. What a fantastic result, by the way. Six defeats in a row at Anfield, unbelievable. Having previously gone something stupid like 62 games unbeaten at Anfield, so it's absolutely breathtaking, that Liverpool are on this run, but it didn't help, and it's worrying, and we're now only a point away from Fulham and the drop zone. But let's not forget, Burnley and Brighton are still firmly in there. Thankfully, it's probably a slim chance, but thankfully Crystal Palace got beat by Tottenham. I know they look like they're far and away, but we all know all it takes is 3 or 4 defeats on the bounce, and all of a sudden you can get sucked right in there. But the reason I'm saying I feel a little bit more positive today is, it's a big game on Friday against Aston Villa, and sometimes I think this season especially, it has been an odd season. It's been strange for all clubs involved, and I just feel that Aston Villa possibly aren't as great a club as what people make out. They've had a really good season, and I'm not going to knock them, and they've certainly got well more points than I think anybody would have predicted. But there's certainly an opportunity for us to have a solid performance at home, possibly change the personnel, couple of changes to the lineup that would certainly help, and a bit more attacking pressing. I'm optimistic that we're at home, and perhaps Bruce will think, right, we've got to win this game now. Really, he should have felt that at the weekend, and he didn't. He went for the point, but we're at home. We can go out there. We can beat them. Fulham. If we're going to take anything from Fulham yesterday, it's that there's opportunities out there, and anybody can be beaten on the day. Who would have thought that Man United would have beat Man City yesterday? There's certainly opportunities out there, and I'm trying to be as positive as possible. It's not over yet. I think we've got 11 games left. There's all to play for, so I'm just trying to stay positive, and I'm really hopeful that we can at least put in a good performance. Even if we got a point on Friday, but we put in a good performance, it'd give that little glimmer of hope. But if we get that win, all of a sudden that point away to West Brom doesn't look too bad. If you took 4 points from Villa at home and West Brom away, you'd take that all day long.
Okay, Pete, I'm going to come to you after our first caller. We've got Lennon. Good evening, mate.
All right, mate.
Good evening, Lennon.
But you didn't expect to see me on here, I'm sure.
Good to see you though, mate. And I know. Like, obviously, we've had a little tete-a-tete over the years, just on Twitter. But Twitter's like that, and especially when your team is completely useless on more than on a week-to-week basis. So, and it's good to see the youngsters being as passionate as some of us older guys. And this channel probably is full of older people and older people's views. But we've got to appreciate as well. No, I'm speaking for myself, and I'm speaking for myself, Steve Hasty, Neil Mitchell, George Mitchell. There's it. We call Steve Bruce a dinosaur, but the combined age of all of us guys is prehistoric. But yeah, look, the young lads have got an opinion too, and that's why this show was brought out, because ultimately we want to hear from other people. So you can pick up Lennon on Twitter. He does have a lot to say as well about Newcastle. NUFCJL is his Twitter handle, so give him a follow. But yeah, you got 5 minutes to have a rant, and I know you said you might need 5 hours, but go for it, Lennon.
Before I start, I think we've got the common goal, haven't we, of all this. We all just want what's best for Newcastle. There's different sides of the fan base, isn't there? Like, obviously, we all know that. I mean, like, there's some who are pro takeover. We all pro takeover, but there's some who are more optimistic, like yourselves, than to me. And I just sort of there's ways and means of going about it. I have been out of order in the past and stuff, but like you say, I think it's just the fact that the fan base is that depleted of any joy at the minute. We're just clinging on to any form of hope, and sort of it's everything that people see they'll cling on to, and then there's arguments and stuff like that. There's no need for it, really. We should be united as a fan base, but it doesn't always work out that way. I have to say, when it comes on the pitch, I wish I had Chris's optimism. I must admit, for Friday, I don't see us getting anything on Friday. I don't see us picking up another point all year the way we played. I think we got absolutely embarrassed on Sunday by the fact that. Did you see Steve Bruce smiling after the game? I know we all didn't expect Fulham to go and win at Liverpool, but I think he was banking on us being 4 points clear by the Sunday night. I have to say that the way we're so casually talking about it, I mean, 1 point's nothing, is it? Especially with the way they're playing and the goal difference that they have. It's nothing at the minute. We caught, in my opinion. If you have to look at it now, I honestly think that it's going to be also Brighton who go down. I don't see Fulham even being in the round. I've seen a few lads who were saying that on the final day, it's going to be, like a battle between who's going to stay up between us and Fulham. I honestly don't see it that way. I think they'll be well out of it by then if it carries on like this. I mean, did you hear his crack about saying about the previous 6 games, how we've only lost 2, and it was to Chelsea and Man United? I mean, it's the level of delusion that this bloke's on. I can't honestly believe it. I can't believe how he is. I just can't believe that he wakes up in the same reality at times. I mean, I've got so many questions to put to him. It's unbelievable. I have to ask questions as well of the journalists who are in the stadium. I mean, I know Craig Hope's been banned now, hasn't he, from being in the ground, but there's certain people there who I think could be doing a lot more, especially the Sky Sports ones. I think there's not enough questions being asked, especially if you consider that there's no fans to voice their opinion. I mean, I heard him talking the other day saying, I can't wait to see the fans back in the stadium. He can. He definitely can wait for it, because I tell you what it is. If I was in that stadium, they'd be out of cabbages around the corner of my shop, like, I have to say. I honestly, the anger that I feel towards him as a bloke now, and not towards him as a manager anymore. I mean, that was long gone. That as a manager, I've doubted him for a while. I think everyone has, even when he was appointed. But as a man at the minute, he's the way he talks to the press and the way he shuts them down and the way he talks about the fans is really ticking us off. I'm doing well not to swear here, by the way.
No, you're okay. If you feel like you need to swear. I always say it only reflects on the person who uses the language, but if it's justified, we don't mind on this channel.
It's definitely justified with him, honestly. What's happened to the long staff? Just what's happened to the general positivity of do you know, last year, right, he sold us all on this lie that we all know he's not good enough tactically, but he sold us on the lie that sort of, Rafa didn't care about. He knows he's not as good as Rafa, but he come out and said, Rafa didn't care about the cups, I do, sort of thing. He tries to sort of play on things that the fans are craving a bit to try and boost his own ego and boost his own sort of. He got the ability, so he has to say things to try and get the fans on side, like he was going to go for it in the cups. He couldn't even do that. What happened this year against Newport, and we were out in the first round of the cup, and everything about him, he's just such a. The only word I can describe for Bruce purposely is loser. He's just a total loser, isn't he? You know, like and I don't even like using that word, but he is, because his whole mentality is just ridiculous. Like, how can you look at that point on Sunday and say that was a good point? I mean, we were lucky not to get beat, and they were terrible. In my opinion, I watch them and I see nothing to suggest that they won't be in the Championship next year. I must admit, with us probably, but if they had better strikers, we'd have got beat that game. And he comes out after the game and says that we did enough to win it and all this. And I don't know what he's watching. Sometimes I don't know what he's watching, especially when he comes out and says we need to keep the run going. We've won 2 games in 18. Do you know what I mean? And then people wonder why I'm so vocal about it. It's just, I probably wouldn't be as bad if I could get to the games at the minute. I think Twitter, and especially social media in general, is just a way for people to sort of vent their frustrations. And I think that's why a lot of fans end up on each other, because they get so triggered easily by everything. I mean, I can't even say anything because I'm probably the worst for it, of just seeing things and jumping on the bandwagon. And then before you know it, I'm in an argument with someone about something that I didn't really care about at first, but it's just, we're all on edge. I'm so emotional after the games, and I'm stomping about the house because we can't go out and we can't go to the games to voice our opinions or anything like that. I'm just sick of not being able to do anything. You know, I think this is why things like this are good, and things like Twitter are at times good, because we can't do anything at the minute, can we? You know, remember when Pardew was the similar situation with Pardew, where I remember that game, and we all wanted him out, but I actually almost felt sorry for him because it was that toxic. I honestly think that Bruce deserves that. I mean, people say he's a nice bloke. If he was a nice bloke, he would have walked by now. He's arrogantly leading us down and taking us down. He knows exactly what's going to happen. There's only so many injuries and so many coincidences that have happened at every club he's been at that he can keep blaming here. He can't just keep saying, we're without our best players. Well, we've had our best players and we're still getting beat. I don't understand anything that he says. I mean, did you hear him the other day talking about Donald Trump and that? I mean, what's wrong with him? he triggers me. Honestly, he triggers me no end. Like it's a really bad habit. Like I watch all these interviews and that. It's one of them where you know you shouldn't, because you're gonna come out of it bad. I mean, I watch it at work and stuff, like at dinner time and that, and I can't concentrate for the rest of the day because I'm fuming with him. I despise how much I hate how we've gone from sort of. I've all seen the clip of Rafa where, I mean, I had me Rafa's football and things like that, but you always got the sense he had his hands tied behind his back, which Bruce hasn't had, by the way. He's had more money than God knows what, and he still blew it all on, well, decent players, but when you're managing them, it's no good, is it? You know, as we've seen many times. You know, he had Villa 14th in the Championship with the likes of Grealish and McGinn. I mean, look at them now. You know, it's just that's evidence to me that he shouldn't even be anywhere near a club. I mean, I've said to loads of people that I don't just want him out in Newcastle. I actually want him out in football. I feel sorry for them that another club might end up with him. Yeah. Because I just know, I feel sorry for their fans that they're going to go through at least 2 years of just excuses and terrible football and just manager who doesn't care. I mean, this should be the reason a lot of people gave Bruce like sort of leeway at the start. We all knew he was terrible, but the way that he sort of won us over was by saying, look, I'm going to give this a right good go because it's my hometown club and all that. And that'll quickly change. I've said this, when he does go, let's see him on Sky Sports next year when he's in the studio and that. Let's see why he thinks he failed at Newcastle. Will he say, I wasn't good enough, you know, it's my hometown club, I tried my best? Or will he turn around and say, them lot up there, you know, they expect the Champions League every year. And then we'll see how much of a Geordie he is and how much of a Newcastle fan he is when he turns on fans. His own failure, really. And that's the way I feel about him. He's just such a loser. The only way you can sum him up is he's never won anything. You never hear Pep Guardiola, or you never hear, you know, extreme examples, but Jurgen Klopp saying, I kept these up last year, I kept Liverpool up. It's the bare minimum, your job. It's Sam Allardyce celebrates never going down. Well, it's not an achievement. I mean, well done, but that is not an achievement. It's certainly not an achievement to be manager of our club, I don't think. You know, like it is at the minute with Ashley and stuff, but you still hear the likes of Rafa where he's talking after the Leicester game, saying, this is after we won. You know what I mean? After we beat Leicester away, and he's turning around and saying, it's still not good enough. I'm not asking for miracles. We want to be about 7th or 12th. You know, that's what we want to hear. You know, we're not asking for people have this myth that we all think we deserve to be in the Champions League. It's just not true at all, is it? I mean, I don't know. If there's any Newcastle fan who thinks we should be in the Champions League, then you'd say now, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
With the
Well, that's the end of your 5 minutes, Len. I tell you what, you crammed a lot in, and the feedback that you got off everybody on the chat was what a great rant. So well done, mate. You've done it for the young'uns. You've done it for the young'uns. Well done. Yeah, you did well, mate. We're going to go with Pete to give you a bit of feedback. We've got people waiting. I know we've got John Carter lined up next, and then David Reed. So, Pete, what's your views on what young Lennon's had to say?
Firstly, I thought the rant was spot on. Fantastic, Lennon. So well done. You've raised a number of good points, and I'm going to the three main points: Bruce, Longstaffs, and social media. So I'll start with Bruce. First and foremost, you mentioned about Rafa. For all of those journalists and all those non-Rafa fans, look at Bruce's record right now, and there is no comparison in terms of the quality of manager. And I don't want that to even be a discussion anymore, because it's not. Rafa Benitez had absolutely nothing, right, to go on, and still made us a top 10 team in one season, 13th in another, and actually by the end of his second season in the Premier League was playing some bloody good football under us, and actually in a position to really take us forward if it continued as manager. Bruce is a dinosaur. You know, he's finished in football. For me, I'm convinced that he's going to be his last job. I thought he made some really good points about how he speaks to people in his press conferences, and I think one or two journalists are starting to pick up on it now. He comes across extremely rude, extremely unprofessional, and it's not getting noticed enough as far as I'm concerned. I've never known a manager to cut people off in the media when they're halfway through their question to him and just give a random answer and then cut them off and they don't get another opportunity to speak. I just think it's not appropriate at all for a professional elite or so-called elite manager in the Premier League. He hasn't got any ideas. He never has. You know, we have a style of football and a way of playing now with our particular setup. It's come from Graham Jones. It's not Bruce's ideas, and he's running on fumes at the moment. You made a really good point about Bruce before I move on, about the fact that he's talking about how he's looking forward to having fans back in the stadium. You're right, he's not. And in his mind, and I'm convinced of this, he does not see himself in the dugout at the beginning of next season. No matter what league we're in the Championship or the Premier League, I'm convinced he does not see himself as being Newcastle manager, and neither do I. I think regardless in the summer, they'll cut him loose. And no matter what people say in the media about who's going to be here next season, I don't think he will at all. And I think Steve Hasty made a really good point on Friday night on the Three Amigos, in that actually for his own health and his own well-being, I think it's in his best interest that he does walk away. Because if he comes back with those fans in the stadium, I think he'd be lucky to last 90 minutes in our first home game back. Because I think the fans would make it crystal clear that we do not want him manager of our football club anymore. I move on. The Longstaffs, I think you made a really good point about the Longstaffs. Where are they? You know, it's a case of where's Wally at the moment with those two. But they're not Wallies. They're young players that could get better under a better manager, under a better coach. And I've said it before on the Matchday Lives. I believe, they've had bad performances this season, particularly Sean. But I believe in this setup with three midfield that those two players could actually do something in that midfield. Certainly a hell of a lot better than the likes of Hendricks, and at times a hell of a lot better than the likes of Shelby. And I think Longstaff's playing alongside Willock and Hayden could really improve our midfield and our productivity. And it's a shame what's happening to them. How many chances has Hendrick had? He's been sent off. He's had bad performance after bad performance after bad performance. You'd think he would be at the back of the line by now. But no, he comes in ahead of Matty, he comes in ahead of Sean, and he's back in the team. And it's an absolute joke. I want to touch on social media. I thought you made some really good points about social media. And the key is, for me, the reason why fans start getting off at each other and having a go and arguments and it all spirals over is because in years gone by, we've been able to have a pretty good relationship with the club. As fans, we've been able to go to Freddie Shepherd and Sir John Hall and turn around and say, oh, you know what, we're not happy. And it might not change straight away, but after time, they would look at it and think, right, we need to do something for the fans here, and we need to change something. The difference is this time is we know we've got an owner and a managing director that don't give a crap about what the fans think. And that is the biggest issue right now. In that, this is what's been happening over 13 years. What you see on social media now is 13 years of fans' frustration that we don't have a voice in the football club. And that is the big issue right now. And it's been happening time after time after time, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And this is why you see this fan issue on social media. We get new owners, whoever that may be, that stops, because they will know that they need a voice from the fans in the club to have a say about what's going on. And you'll see social media change. You'll see it completely change. But that's why you made a fantastic point, and I think it's an important point. We've got a lot of viewers that view these shows that are very vocal on social media and have been involved in arguments and disagreements. We have to, as a fan base, remember our frustrations are not with each other. Their frustrations are with the manager and the owner, and we need to vent it that way, not at each other. Yeah. We need to stick together. Okay. So again, really good points, Lennon. Absolutely spot on. Thanks for coming on.
No doubt about it. And I don't often do this, but I think you've got the rant of the night, Lennon. Well done, mate. You got the Jackie Milburn Award. Well done, mate. Hope we'll get you on again, mate. And good luck with everything.
Give us a shout.
Good luck with everything you do. Take care, son. Bye bye.
Take care.
See ya.
Good to have him on. Great to see some of the youngsters tuning in to the show as well. And straight on to David Reid. Good evening, David.
First of all, it has been washed.
He's got his t-shirt on. It's always good to see the t-shirt make an appearance. David, obviously, 7 days I think since we last had you on. What was your take on that game? And give us your 5-minute rant, mate.
Right, well, that's my point number 2. First point is Liverpool. What a terrible title defence. I mean, yesterday it just summed it all up. Fulham, getting beat at home to Fulham. Have you ever? Right. Next point. When I saw the team line up yesterday, none of us predicted it. We all gave different opinions. And to me, it screamed out, 65 minutes, 0-0, make the changes, go for it. Didn't happen. And I put it on the chat that even my American girlfriend putting Carroll on with 30 seconds to go was a total joke. I mean, how much can he mug him off?
It was Sean.
And my last point is, everybody puts on here Bruce out. I want that. Everybody does. But the thing is, it's not going to happen because Ashley won't pay Bruce off and the staff off, and he's not going to hire a manager with a massive stay-up clause for 2 months. And that's it.
Okay. Plenty to get your teeth into, Chris. From you being very positive, we've heard Lennon, who is certainly quite, honest, it has to be said. Very negative. He's not very happy. We haven't come to Pete yet, but we will do. We'll find out what Pete's take is on yesterday's performance, etc. But David's the same as me, really. I mean, I was quite bold, and I don't normally put out a prediction for a team selection, but I put out what I would do. Met with pretty much approval, throughout all the selections, give or take 1 or 2 players. But all in all, I think most people had the same kind of idea. You play Gale and you play Carroll up front. Yeah. Carroll lasts as long as he lasts, and then you take him off, and then you put Joe Linton on. But listening to what David said, what would you say?
Yeah, I'll touch first on the team selection, David. And again, great to have you back on, mate. Really good to see you in your Matters t-shirts. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
to talk about the team selection, I don't know if you saw the match day live yesterday, but we all had concerns, as I'm sure everybody who's a Newcastle fan had concerns over that lineup yesterday. And I think the comment I made was that I felt like the team was on the bench. He didn't pick the players who I feel would have put up well more of a fight than what they did yesterday. And I felt that, it was an opportunity missed. Everybody who watches these shows regularly knows how much of a big fan I am of Andy Cavill. I know not everybody's the same, but even the most staunch person who was opposed to Andy Cavill would agree that at this moment in time, Andy Cavill should be the go-to striker, arguably with Gale, give or take, or possibly the two of them. And the fact that he gave him 30 seconds yesterday was absolutely laughable. Like, Andy Cavill, if anything, is an impact player. How is he going to make an impact in just over 30 seconds when you're 0-0? There was no ambition to win the game, and that was my biggest problem with yesterday. I feel much better about it today, as Steve was saying. I'm looking forward now. We've got a point. As I say, it's on the board. It's another point towards that safety mark. So, we didn't lose yesterday, so that is the positive that I'm taking, and I'm hoping for the better result against Villa on Friday. To go to a couple of your other points, I'll leave Liverpool till last because obviously I've got my own opinion on that. To talk about Bruce out, I'm a bit with you on this, David. Bruce out. We all want Bruce out, and Bruce it's an absolute miracle that he's still in the job. But I'm a bit like you. I think it drags people's feelings down. I think I get the message, I understand the message, but we all know he's not going anywhere. For me yesterday, had we have lost to West Brom, there was a possibility he may have gone. I know that it's been publicised that Steve Bruce and his backroom staff have got a release clause of roughly 4 million. I would like to think if Steve Bruce was to go, that we would keep Clements and Agnew on until at least the end of the season. So I would think it would only be Bruce that would go. So I'm hoping it's probably going to be £2 or £3 million to get rid of Bruce. Is it worth paying? Absolutely. Will he do it? If we continue to scrape draws and keep picking points up, I think he keeps hold of them. So the Bruce out thing, we all want him out, but sometimes it is a bit. We know. I think it just drags people down a little bit. Certainly for me, I'm not talking on behalf of everybody. That's just my own personal opinion. The last point I want to make, David, is about Liverpool. So I know we're going slightly off topic, but obviously, as you can probably tell, I'm from Liverpool. A lot of my friends are Liverpool fans, and I was only talking to one of them earlier on today just about Liverpool's demise and the title defence, as you rightly said. They've literally crumbled, haven't they? The white flag has well and truly been raised now, and the biggest. If I was a Liverpool fan, the biggest worry for me, and I said this to my friend today, the biggest worry for me, it's not about the defence. Most Liverpool fans who you will speak to, I'll probably get loads of stick for this now. Most Liverpool fans who you speak to will say, "Oh, we've got no centre backs. We're missing Van Dijk, we're missing Gomez." That's not the issue. The issue is the front three, who are all fit and they're not firing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the issues are. But for me, as a Liverpool fan, that would be my concern. And I tell you now, maybe the front three need to be broken up, but I don't think they're going to have a choice whether they're broken up, because I think at least one, possibly two, are going to go in the summer. And another point which I wanted to raise, which brings us a bit more back to Newcastle. You'll remember earlier on in the season that Gini Van Alden has been offered the new contract and he's rejected the contract, and the rumours are that he wants to go to Barca. Now, a few people called that a ploy, as in he just wanted a bigger wage off Liverpool. Maybe he was chancing his arm a little bit. I said to my mate earlier, is there a big dressing room upset? As Gini Van Alden said, I've had enough. I don't want to be involved in this anymore, because how can you go from winning the league last year, the Champions League the year before, arguably at the end of last season, most people would not argue that Liverpool were the best team in Europe. I don't think anyone would have argued with you at that point. Yet Gini Van Alden wants to leave. Why? So I'm going to leave it there.
Interesting. Dave, have you got anything else you want to put forward tonight?
No, I agree with Chris. I mean, why would Genie want to leave Liverpool? Doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, go on, Pete.
Dave, Dave, Pete.
You know.
Well, I believe. Look, the thing is, he's won everything. Everything he wanted to win at Liverpool, he's won. Champions League, Premier League, and he's 30 years old now. And when you get, doesn't matter what Barcelona are right now, and they're not a great side. When you get an inkling at 30 years old that Barcelona are interested in you, you want to go. It's as simple as that. And for me, he's won everything he wanted to win in England, and I think he wants not just to move to a different club or a bigger club. He wants another payday. For him, it could be his last big contract, and he's a determined lad. We saw that at Newcastle. Yeah, so I think that's, for me, is the reason why he wants to leave. But can I just add just a little tiny thing about what you said about the Liverpool? Because I know it's not a Liverpool chat, but I think it's an interesting point. It is about the top three, because that result yesterday against Fulham, that Fulham goal would have been a consolation, and they would have won 3 or 4, 5-1 in that game, and they would have torn Fulham apart a year ago. But the issue is, if you look at the last 3 years of Liverpool's football, that 11 or maybe 12 players, right, have gone to the Champions League final and lost to Real Madrid, gone to the Champions League final in the second season and won against Tottenham, and then gone into the Premier League. They have literally gone 100%, 100 miles per hour for 3 years. That is not realistically, the way in the style of football they play, it's not realistically sustainable for any longer than 2 years.
Over the 2 seasons, Pete, if you remember the not last season gone because they won the year before. Didn't they lose one game and they still didn't win the league?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And they had to go literally hell for leather to do that. And you look, Man City matched them and ended up winning the league by couple of points. But you see Man City's tail off last season.
Yeah.
That's what's happening to Liverpool now. And at some point, you have to have that changeover. Chelsea were very good at changing over 2 or 3 years stint. Man United were good at turning over 2 or 3 year stints of players. Liverpool need to do the same. And 1 or 2 of those front three will need to be sold. Simple as.
Definitely.
Good points. Dave, as always, great to have you on, mate. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a good week, and let's hope next time we see you, we're a few points away from the drop zone. But take care, Dave. Cheers.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers. Good to have Dave on. We've got gaps. Anybody wants to come on? As I say, we're always happy to chat away, but would like you guys to come on. We don't set anybody up on this show, so it's nice to basically, for you to come on if you want to. It's your 5-minute rant. So for the next half hour, we've got plenty space. You want to vent your spleen, get yourself on. Big shout out to our sponsors, Spider VPN, of course, who've been with us for the last 2 months now, sponsoring the StreamYard application, and Geordie Riffs, premium guitar lessons for beginners and children, guitar repairs and servicing, recording studio. Find them at www.geordieriffs.co.uk and on their social media platforms, Instagram, Geordie Riffs, and Facebook, Geordie Riffs Official. Also, not forgetting qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle, and Jab Signature, who make all of our flyers. And if you're a first time visitor to the channel and you like what you see, please subscribe. It's free. Just hit that little picture down in the bottom right hand corner, and it brings up the word subscribe. That's all you've got to do. Hit the like button, the little thumb, that gets us a few brownie points with YouTube, and give it a share. That'll share to your social medias. Again, doesn't collect any information, just shares it to the social media platforms that you have connected, and for us it's good. It helps us build the community. I always give a mention to iTunes and Spotify as well, and ultimately if you're out and about and you miss the show, you can always pick us up on there for free as well, and other podcast platforms. Plenty to talk about as always. Pete, let's get your views now on Newcastle United's I would say dismal performance at West Brom, because it was a 6-pointer. The team he put out for me was poor, and we didn't get the 3 points we needed. But you might have a different opinion. Tell us yours.
when I saw the starting lineup, you know, in my head, in the days building up to starting to the game, I had visions of what a starting lineup would look like. 2 or 3 different teams set out. I did not for 1 second think that he would put out that starting lineup, and instantly, it just drained me of any confidence going into that game. And instantly, my mindset was, we are playing for a point. And I wasn't wrong. The performance, the attitude was of a group of players that have been told to go out there and say, right, get yourself a point on the board. Let's just not lose the game. And it was as much as what Bruce said in his press conference after the game, in that, you know, we didn't lose, we got a point on the board, and that's basically what he was going for. And that's so frustrating for a team that at home have conceded the best part of 50, 53, 55 goals this season. I've one of the worst home records in the league and have been leaking goals for fun there. For us to go there and be one of the only teams this season not to score is an embarrassment. I have to say, I didn't think West Brom created a whole lot. They had a fair bit of possession. They had little spells where they throw balls into the box. I thought Lascelles and Clark handled it very well alongside Dummett. Dealt with everything. I don't think we were under pressure. I don't think Dubravka really had much to do, if I'm honest. And that, for me, should have given us the confidence to say, right, let's have a real go. Let's get your Murphys on. Let's get your Carrolls on as a focal point and disrupt the centre-backs. Let's get Fraser and Murphy running beyond him and getting into that box and trying to create chances. And it was none of that. You know, playing Joe Linton, he had the one great chance early on where he tried to square it when it was probably easier to shoot. And it's just kind of like, you know, we can't keep doing this. We cannot keep doing this. You know, we had missed chances against Palace. You know, when we went 1-0 up and we let things slide. We did the same against Leeds. You know, and we can't keep doing this to ourselves because we're going to end up getting relegated on the back of it. Now, do I think we'll get relegated? I'm still of the opinion that we won't. And I still believe that whilst there are still points there to be picked up, whilst we've still got games to play, I still believe we've got a chance. The thing for us, and I believe this will happen, I think a little bit like the Everton away, I think we'll get our points from surprise results. And I think games like Arsenal at home, games like Tottenham at home, game like this Friday potentially, and games like Leicester away, are games where I believe when we have our full strength team back, I believe we will get our points that way to stay in the league. And you know, I think at the moment, I think we will get draws. I think we might get a point on Friday. I think we'll probably get a point against Brighton. And I think what we'll do, we'll keep just grabbing points to keep ourselves within a fighting chance until we get the players back. And then I think we'll go again. Because there was no doubt when we had Wilson, Almiron and St. Maximin playing together in that top line, we were a threat. Okay, we were a threat. You know, you look at that Southampton game. If those players stay on the pitch, if Wilson stays on the pitch, if Almiron stays on the pitch, we win the game comfortably. You know, sorry, I mean, if Hendrick didn't get sent off, I think we win the game comfortably. I think we win the game.
We've lost you a little bit, Pete. Signal's dipped out. 2 seconds, mate. Yeah, back now, mate. Yeah, go for it.
Right, okay. Yeah, so I believe we've got an opportunity to stay in the league, but it's gonna be tight. It's going to be very, very tight. I did that accumulated thing on the Chronicle live, and I think I put this down as getting sort of 36 points, and I believe that'll be enough to stay in the league. I think that we haven't had our run yet. You know, Fulham have had their run or having their run right now. I think Brighton have had their run previously. I think Burnley are going through a little bit of a run where they're picking up points. I believe we've still got our run to come, and I think that'll be enough to keep us in the league. You know, all it takes is one win and we go above Burnley, who are not even being talked about at the moment. You know, it's that close. And I think I actually believe that Fulham will stay in the league. I actually believe that we'll stay in the league. And I believe that we'll get more points than Fulham and Brighton and Burnley.
Interesting. I've got to be honest, I wish I shared your confidence. I just feel, unfortunately, that there's other teams who are putting the effort in and trying harder than we are. And Steve Bruce proved yesterday he cannot pick his nose, never mind a team. Barry H, good evening.
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Good to see you, mate. As always, you have 5 minutes, mate, to get your points across. Away you go.
Where do you start? It's... You know, I was really hoping, because normally I listen to yourselves, and I've got the match on in the background if it's on Sky. If not, I just listen to yourselves. It's on BT. Yesterday, the game this weekend, I just had an absolute fear of dread from the minute I saw the team list from yourselves. It was just an absolute feeling of dread, David. There's no confidence there at all. It's this mentality with Steve Bruce that it's almost becoming the schoolyard mentality that he's fell out with certain people. He's had arguments with them. Right, you're out the way. He's obviously upset the long staffs. He's had run-ins. There's rumours that he's had run-ins with their family, so he's cheesed off with them. He's made Gale from what looked like the ideal replacement to come in for Wilson. He was the best bet we had. He's cheesed him off. Matt Ritchie, I agree with Steve. I think he's not the greatest player in the squad, but he's 200% commitment. He gets stuck in. He goes for it every time. He's the sort of player you need on the pitch. If you're in a relegation battle, you need somebody who's going to go for it. I mean, God sake, he even went out of his way to upset Atsu and Henry Savvy, who, to be honest, I'd forgotten were even at the club. But he seemed to go out of his way to just piss them off. It's one of the... We all hope that these 4 games... The 4 or 5 games are going to be the games we're going to pick up some points. We should have been able to turn over West Brom. Brucey's attitude of, well, I don't want to change the system because this is what we're going to use for the rest of the season. But by the way, the players we're going to have in are crap. You know, I nearly put a bet on it yesterday for the Fulham game. Because watching Fulham recently, they're up for it. Parker's got them organised. He's done exactly what we should have done. He's gone out in the transfer window and he hasn't signed anybody. He's used very little money, but he's brought in some astute loan signings. He's got, I mean, they keep making this big deal. Oh, Fulham, they've got half their teams on loan. Yeah, look at what they're doing. They're dragging them by the scruff of the neck up the table. Their loan players are playing out the skin. They said, well, why will these loan players be asked whether Fulham goes down or not? Because these loan players have been brought there and they've been put in the wind and given a chance to show what they can do, and they're doing it for them. The Scousers were terrible. I mean, I don't want to be nasty about Liverpool, Chris, because I think they play some amazing football normally.
Oh, I don't mind, mate. Don't worry. I don't mind.
Mo Salah looks like a guy who doesn't want to be there. The odd couple of chances he had, his passion, his drive that he had last season, going for goal, he just didn't want to be there. I mean, the only time they looked remote was when Alexander-Arnold came on. And watching Fulham, guys, they're going to leave us for dust. I mean, I put in the comments there, I can see them turning over Wolves. I can see them beating Leeds. And without Grealish, I can imagine them beating Aston Villa. And there's 9 potential points that Fulham are going to pick up. I mean, we're making the big deal about the Brighton game. I mean, Lamptey's now out for the rest of the season. He's had surgery on his injury, so he's going to be missing. This is the guy who tore us apart in the last game.
Yeah.
But you know, for a fact, Bruce is still going to play Joe Linton up front. What is the point? The guy, you've got more use playing him as the goalpost. Replace the goalpost with Joe Linton, and at least he can try and keep the ball out the net because he cannot do anything. I mean, Steve mentioned this, before you went on your 13-game transfer, Joe Linton. It was right. Maybe it's the pressure. Maybe it's all this attention that's getting to him. He's getting all this stick on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's having a negative effect. So what has Steve Bruce done? He's now, again, made him the laughingstock of the team. The guy cannot trap the ball. He cannot pass. He can't score. And I'm not a huge fan of Andy Carroll. For me, Dwight Gale should be in there miles ahead of Andy Carroll, but at least Andy Carroll would put the passion into it. He would get. That's the first game where I've watched it. I honestly was sitting waiting for these games, thinking, yeah, we'll be in with a shout. I mean, I totally understand ASM and Miggy getting injured. I think we would have beaten them. We would have beaten West Brom with those two in the team. I think we would have scored somehow. But without them, we are going down. And I can't believe Mike Ashley's sitting there. And I got the first time ever, Steve, I got stick on a comment site. I put a comment on about, what's the point of Ashley going through arbitration? And they went, what you on about? What you on about? It's all for the good of the takeover. I said, hang on a minute, mate. By the time he gets through arbitration, we'll already be relegated because Bruce will have us in the bottom three and Brighton and Fulham will be out of sight. And there'll be no point doing the arbitration because we'll not be able to catch them. And we've all got these theories about obviously the takeover and the chances that PIF will come back if we do get relegated. But seriously, would I want to buy Newcastle in the Championship?
That's your 5 minutes up, Barry. 5 minutes up. Really good though, mate. Good rant. Quite quickly, Chris, because we've got a couple of people waiting. Gareth Varty and Liam Dowson are waiting in the wings. So, Chris, just quickly on some of Barry's points.
Really quickly, Barry, again, mate, fantastic. Just want to say you took me back about 15, 20 years with that shirt. That's Shea Given's shirt, isn't it?
This is me Shea Given shirt. I've decided to get Pavel's name on the back in honour of Pavel.
No, absolutely fantastic, mate. Dead quickly, yeah. That was worrying about the press conference, wasn't it, when Bruce was saying he didn't want to confuse the players with a change in formation. I mean, God forbid you go from a 4-4-2 diamond to just a normal 4-4-2. I mean, that must be pretty confusing, that mustn't it, for the players? Also, in terms of Joe Linton, weirdly, again, I was speaking to my mate about Joe Linton before, and in terms of the problem with Joe Linton is I struggle to see his qualities, and I think we all feel the same. If you stop and just take a minute and just think what his best attribute is, and I said that to my mate, I was like, who's a Liverpool fan? I said, what do you think Joe Linton's best attribute is? And he went, well, he's a big lad, isn't he? He puts himself about. And I said, no, that's the problem. He is a big lad, and he doesn't put himself about. He doesn't use his strength. That was the great strength of Rondon. He was like a wall. Every time the ball would come, he'd cover it, and no one could knock him off the ball, and he'd hold the ball up. Excellent. Joe Linton's got the potential to do that, but he doesn't do it. And yeah, they were the couple of points I wanted to make, Barry. But yeah, another cracking man, mate.
Good stuff, Barry. Hope you get on again soon. Lovely to see you. Take care, pal.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Over to Gareth. Gareth Varty, who is from Spider VPN. How are you, mate? You're on mute, so unmute yourself. There you go. That's it. I can hear you now, Gareth. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on. What points do you want to make?
I'm not really a ranter, to be honest, but just a couple of quick points, really. One is Emil Kraft. I struggle to see him as a defender, to be honest with you. I don't think he can defend for Toffee. And the problem is, yes, he bombs up the line sometimes, and yes, he'll get on the ball sometimes, but he also kind of cross. He also can't pick a pass out. He's not great at having a shot at goal. I wonder why he's actually there. So I suppose my rant is, I'd rather see someone like Matt Ritchie there. Yes, he's probably on the wrong side of the park for him, but I think he'd do a better job than Emil Kraft in the wrong position. There's probably other people you could use there instead of Emil Kraft, but that was just one of the points I wanted to make. And the other point I want to make really is what's more positive really than a rant. I don't think we're going down. I strongly think that we will stay up. That's not because I'm a Steve Bruce supporter necessarily, but I just think that our running is a lot better than the teams around us, and I think we're a chance of picking up the odd punch here and there that'll see us over the line. And I think in the worst case scenario, even if we did go down, I'm still convinced that PIF would still come in for us at a reduced price and buy us, and almost like sticking the fingers up to the Premier League as if to say, I've got them anyway, and then bring us back up again. So I don't understand the doom and gloom with the relegation fight, because I think we will stay up. And I think that PIF, ultimately, whether we're in the Premier League or whether we're in the Championship, will take us over. So I think the future is very bright. that's probably a strange point of view for a rant, but that's how I view things. How about you, lads?
Good stuff. Okay, Pete, go over to you.
Love it, Gareth. I'm glad I've got someone that's got the faith in the boys to keep us in the league alongside me, because Steve and Chris are not with me at the moment with that one. So look, I agree. I believe that there's enough fixtures there that we can get points to keep us in the league. What is an Emil Kraft? That's the question that we need to ask. What is an Emil Kraft? Because I certainly don't know. And what baffles me even more is that Mankilio was on the bench on Sunday. Why was he not even playing? Why did he not get any minutes, even 15 minutes, just to get him back playing with a view to then start him on Friday? Because the quicker Kraft gets out the team, the better it is for us. Because I think, having Dummett played well on Sunday, having Dummett, Lascelles played well, Clark played well, and having Mankilio in that back line, that with Dubravka automatically is a stronger, more confident back line, and we go into games a lot more confident that we're not going to concede goals just with getting Kraft out of the team.
Completely agree.
You made some points about PIF. I'm inclined to agree with you. I think that they're so committed, and although they're saying, "Oh, they're not at the table," blah 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 blah, this, that, and the other. If they weren't that committed to us, they'd have gone and bought another club by now. And there are plenty out there to buy. And I'm convinced that they are committed to this deal regardless. And it's been well documented that they've got a 10-year plan to get Newcastle up there, and and they've got a relegation already sort of strategically planned for. Obviously, they don't want it to happen, but they're planned for it, and it's been well documented that they have. In the worst possible situations of us getting relegated, what better position to go through the EFL process of owning a club, which is quite quick and quite swift if things are going well, and it would be, because there's no real reasons that they would stop it with some of the owners that the EFL have given the green light to in the past. So it would go through. They've got a chance to really build Newcastle from the bottom, build a team to get us back up, and then they can give the two fingers to the Premier League to say, we're here now, and we're here to stay, and literally go for it. It's a simple way in. I believe that Mike Ashley will sell the club regardless to PIF, arbitration or not, because I think even in the Championship, I think they'd still be willing to give him a decent price, a price that's not worthy of a Championship club, it would still be worthy of a Premier League club, and I think PIF would still be willing to pay it, because they've got a project. We have to remember, they are not just buying Newcastle for now; they're buying Newcastle to build something massive, not just for the club, but for the community, for the city, that takes time. Okay, so I think that they would be okay. They would be happy about it, but they'd be okay with building Newcastle from the Championship. But we don't want Newcastle in the Championship. We want Newcastle in the Premiership now. We want them in the Premier League now, and obviously PIF do. And I believe that we've got enough to keep them in the league. So again, just those couple of points have been spot on, Gareth. Top man.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a message for the fans really is that I always think to myself, what's an absolute worst case scenario is Steve Bruce stays to the end of the season, we go down, we end up playing Sunderland next season, which is a possibility, and we get bought up by PIF, we come back up and we destroy the Premier League. Happy days.
Fingers crossed, and I just want to thank you, mate, for your sponsorship, Spider VPN. Great to have you on board, and thanks very much, mate, for your support, and that's on behalf of me and everybody here. So Spider VPN, the way forward, mate. Cheers, Gareth, to you and your kid.
Thank you very much, Steve. Cheers.
Take care, mate. Bye bye. We've got a little bit of time to bring in Liam. It's a faceless account. It's a gamble, but let's see what the crack is. Liam, what have you got to say? Doesn't sound good, Liam. That's gone. It sounded as if Liam was up to no good there. I had a feeling, when you see a faceless account, guys, and you know that it's bad news. It sounded as if Liam was up to no good there, and
I think you put it off at the right time. I've got to be honest.
I do. We didn't want to climax the show, where with anything out of order. So we'll finish. At least it's given us a laugh on a horrendous situation this weekend. Yeah. Where do we go? I mean, listen, the callers have been great, lads. As always, we've had some some really good rants, a couple of regulars, and great to get Lennon on as well. Lennon put forward some wonderful points there tonight. It's just, the unification of fans, I think, is the most important thing, that Lennon said for me. And, people should be more united. And I think we forget, another point he made was that we can't vent our spleen at the match. We can't all be sitting in the ground. Normally we get that pent-up anger and frustration out on the terraces. But we can't do that. So we're left to our devices, we're mobile phones, we're computers, whatever. And that's it. I mean, we have a therapy session by doing Match Day Live, and we get our frustrations, joys, and whatever out there. We can talk on this show. But unfortunately, not everyone has that angle. And social media is something, the only place where people can vent their spleen, really, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it is. And I just wanted to say, Steve, Lennon, for me, I think Lennon's probably been my favourite rant since I've been on the show. I thought it was really good. All the points he made, they were fantastic. And I wanted to also say from Lennon, it takes a real man, doesn't it, to admit when you're wrong in the past. And fair play to him, he did. He said he's regretted things that he's done in the past, but he's obviously turned a corner, and he's quite right when he says, we should all stop getting at each other and just be united as a fan base. So I really, really appreciated that message from Lennon. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, what was your take, Pete?
Yeah, like I say, I got to mention a few things with regards to Lennon, and like you said, with regards to the social media. With young fans on social media, it can get away from you, and you can go too far. I know there's been one or two fans before that have said certain things, but like Chris said, the fact that he's been able to hold his hands up and say, you know what, I was wrong, my bad. And I know Adam came on your show as well, Steve, and said something similar. And you know what, fair play to him. And you know what, I'd wish that some of the
It's just all the comments coming through, Pete. Very difficult. I think this is the best one. Get Liam and the team up top. Sounds like he's scoring at least. Liam saying hello, Steve, mate. I mean, Liam, you've certainly caused a stir on NUFC Matters tonight. Right. Luckily, it's an over 18 show, as some people have said. It was before the watershed. And Mark Henderson said they were like Bruce, an anticlimax.
Definitely. Oh man.
Unbelievable. I think, lads, we're struggling to finish the show the way this is going. But look, it's been a cracking show. I think you're right. I think there's been some great points made, and I think obviously we've got Ladies' Night coming up in half an hour, and International Women's Day. They will be wanting to get a lot off their chest. But I think, like most of us, we've probably all been overshadowed by Meghan Markle and Prince Harry today, haven't we? So.
Be an interesting listen tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I think for once, come 8 o'clock tonight, the talk would be about that and not about Newcastle for a change.
Yep, Liam pulling one out, unlike Bruce's Mike Gent. Mark Vickers. At least Liam hits the target. How will Ladies' Night follow this, says Stu? Brilliant night, lads. Thanks for the smiles. Well, I've got another faceless account called Preston, who, unfortunately, mate, you've just missed the boat, and I do dread to think what is on that call there, lads. I'm not. It could be the same caller, and it could be a fast-forwarded version of whatever's to come. So I'm not getting anybody into trouble. We're gonna move on swiftly. Golf and Geordie, we'll leave it with him. Rude Hullet is back with sexy football, he says.
Love it.
Lads, good to see you. I'll see you for Aston Villa just at the weekend. Take care. Have a good week, lads.
Take care, lads.
Take care. Go on, Liam, lad.
I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn.